What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back for my team, episode number 34 for the British Grand Prix. As you can see the highlights there, that was a very smoky end to the Austrian Grand Prix last time out. Go check it out if you haven't already. Honestly, that was probably one of the closest calls I think I've ever had in terms of reliability, but I'm glad we got there in the end. In today's episode, we're going to be renegotiating a contract for George Russell. We have been fretting over the last few episodes about whether we'd be able to afford George, and it looks like we have enough to be able to afford him. So that's going to be the priority. In an ideal world, we do want to re-sign George, and we're going to go for the low-risk 7.4 million. I've heard whispers that if you go for the higher offer, they actually use the extra money that they offer you and put it into their own contract perks. So we've signed George for another 147 days. That will see us through till the end of the season. And who knows, that could be enough time to give George a World Drivers' Championship. We'll have to wait and see. But we need to continue to work on this car, both performance-wise and durability-wise. Durability is probably the determining factor. I think there's no questioning our performance within the sport anymore. But yeah, if you guys have been enjoying this series, make sure you leave a like. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all these videos and also upcoming videos I've got on F1 2020. Can you believe the game came out like a month ago? I've been sweating a lot of career mode, but there's still a lot of videos that I haven't got around to making yet, like one-off videos. So I think that's going to be something that I'm going to take as more of a priority going forward if I can. I've still got so many ideas that I want to run through. So yeah, I'm excited to show you guys and do a bit of different content, as well as still trying to keep up the uploads of career mode. But anyway, in this episode, I think I'm going to take a gearbox and engine penalty because it is the British Grand Prix. Pretty easy to overtake here, pretty much flat out all around the circuit, so we should be okay. But rolling forward time, we get a few durability bits come in. And yeah, that should make things a little bit easier for the second half of the season. Now that we've spent all of our money on George and we don't have to worry about saving anymore, we're going to go full ham with the facilities, a boost to George Russell's racecraft and awareness stats. So he's going to be even better. I think he's like 87 rated at the moment. And well, that's going to be even more OP for my teammate on the other side of the garage. Development-wise, you can see we bring a minor power upgrade here to this circuit. Looks like all the Mercedes powered teams have upgraded as well. So too with Haas. A lot of teams are upgrading, which is nice to see that they are picking up the pace in the second half of Season 2. So we're going to have to keep our wits about us in order to stay fighting at the front. But here we are for practice. I thought it was worthy showing you guys the struggles of Friday practice. I loaded a Silverstone time trial setup, and this was my first corner of the entire weekend. I just completely lose the rear end going in a bit too fast there. I think I was running like 3-4 wings. It was a Marcel Kiefer setup that he was running, F1 Esports driver, and quite clearly that is a lap that is set. That is a setup that is really only good for one lap, just trying to hold on as best you can for maximum performance. So what I did is I increased the rear downforce to 5. But then in the end, I didn't like the setup, so I've gone to my trusty USA setup, and we're going to run with that for this weekend, and we're going to do a qualifying pace program. So we're going to run a comparison. I already did one qualifying pace program, and that was on the Silverstone setup from Marcel Kiefer. We load the USA one, and we've altered the wings a little bit. You can see it's a little bit sketchy at high speed. The rear end isn't exactly planted, so that's an alteration we'll have to make as we come into the pit lane at the end of this run. I'll probably lower the front wing to make it a little bit more stable. But we come across the line and we actually do improve. We go about a 10th faster than our previous best, and this was still with back end losses. So if we shore up the stability of the car, it should be a bit faster. So what I'm going to do is lower the front wing, because straight line speed is everything here at the British Grand Prix. It's basically like an oval these days because these F1 cars have so much downforce. You're going flat out bloody all the time. So keeping up that top end speed is going to be paramount. And I feel like we have enough downforce anyway to go flat out through most of the corners. One less notch of front downforce isn't going to make a huge difference in terms of like understeer or anything like that. Not that we were suffering with that, but it's just the best way forward. You don't want to be adding downforce here. That's probably the last thing you want. But anyway, we run through Friday practice. George Russell surprisingly gets a big bank of resource points there, 350, carries the total to over 1,300. And boy, are we going to have some big upgrades after this race, heading into the next episode. But heading into the British Grand Prix qualifying, I already told you guys we're going to be taking engine penalties and also a gearbox penalty. A lot of you guys suggested that in the comments. I did do one run in qualifying just to see what the pace would be. It was good enough for P16. It was only a one effort run, so nothing crazy. One thing I forgot to do was actually change the gearbox heading into qualifying. We're doing it in the middle of Q2, but it's fine. We're going to be starting from the back anyway, and we're going to fight our way through the field in the British Grand Prix, which I haven't told you guys about yet, but it's actually going to be raining for the entirety of the Grand Prix. Heavy rain, so we should be able to fly back through the field because the car that we've got is amazing in the rain. So I'm looking forward to a good race flying back through, and it'll be entertaining.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every single year of the Formula One World Championship. And the circuit extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the track. Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Vettel, Sergio Perez and Stroll, Verstappen, Magnussen, Kvyat and Alexander Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz, Antonio Giovinazzi and Gasly, Russell.
George, you are so bad!
Nick De Vries, Latifi, Matsushita, Schumacher, they've taken a grid penalty, and Day. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
I'll try to, but not much momentum here at Marduk Motorsport. Both of us starting further back on the grid. Looks like George Russell has also got some penalties of his own. And yeah, these kind of races can be very costly. I'm not so much worried about myself. It's more George. I don't know if he'll be able to find his way through the field as well as what I can. And this is why I really want to prioritize durability so that we can minimize days like this and really be able to challenge consistently at the front and fight for World Constructors Championships. But anyway, it's time for a very wet British Grand Prix. It is lights out and away we go for what could be a very interesting day. Off we go. And it's been an okay start. We're going to follow through everyone through turn 1. I'm going to take the outside line. The AI tend to be running slow and pinched on the inside more often than not. We're going to move to the inside now as we head into turns 2 and 3. Yellow flags. I don't think anyone is particularly spun out or anything. I think we're all going so slowly that the yellow flags had to be brought out, so that was interesting. P16. And we've only negotiated 4 corners in this British Grand Prix, nearly cutting the corner there as we head on to the Wellington Straight for the first of 26 laps. George Russell is up next in P15. He is currently trapped behind Antonio Giovinazzi. That is not a car you want to be trapped behind in a wet race like this. There is no DRS, which is going to save us in this Grand Prix and enable straight line speed overtakes. So in a... Oh, Jesus, that's actually me going through the fast S's under pressure from Lando Norris. Looks like my car is struggling a little bit at high speed. That was a bit of a worry early on in this Grand Prix, as the car wasn't really sticking to the road all too well. And I think this was something we were suffering with in Season 1 as well. So it's very confusing to see this problem recurring again now that we've got tons more downforce. Actually, we got the inside of our teammate there, George Russell, nearly up the inside of Giovinazzi. I decided to back out of it because I didn't want to clatter into the side of him, but maybe I could have been a bit more aggressive there and got the Alfa Romeo driver as well. Looks like Lando is going to follow me through and get my teammate George Russell out. Is he? Yes, he is. Looks like George wanted to fight back there, but was a bit hesitant to really force the issue at the final corner. But there we go. They both survive, unlike Albon and K-Mag from last week's real-life British Grand Prix. Anyway, we've made some solid progress so far. It's only been one lap and we've already gained 7 positions. By this reckoning, we will be leading the Grand Prix on lap 3. So, let's see how that goes. But you can see the front 2 teams, Mercedes and Ferrari, stretching out quite a big lead at this stage. They don't have Marduk Motorsport to keep them honest, it seems, as we're absolutely struggling in this British Grand Prix. Just cop still, turn 1. The rear end was not planted. It was just not sticking to the road, it seems. So maybe I've gone too low on the downforce. 2.5 wings, I believe I'm running. But I don't know. I feel like it could be the wet conditions. The car sometimes doesn't work too well in these conditions. It could just be temperature related. But for the time being, it seems like the tyres are fine. Temperature wise, I think they're in the mid 70s, which is the working range that it's supposed to be in. But for some reason the pace is not there. George Russell is all over us now as we exit Luffield, and another back end loss, trying to chuck it in up into overtake. And even running an overtake, I was losing the back end in like 6th gear with a bit of wheel spin, which was crazy. Again, cops, I've really struggled for any kind of purchase through there. It's becoming quite a problem. We're kind of stuck in this Grand Prix. We can't get past Antonio Giovinazzi. And so I'm now weighing up my options. I'm now considering whether I should let George go and see if he can make some inroads on the Alfa Romeo driver. Oh, we're gone purple. Okay, well that's better as we lose the back end through turn 2. Yeah, I was struggling, but then I found my feet a little bit there and went purple. So maybe, I think as the race goes on, less and less rain is starting to fall on the circuit. It actually will get to intermediate conditions in about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes time. And then towards the end of the race, it's rumored to be dry conditions and on dry tyres. But look at this. I'm losing the back end like crazy. Left rear is now overheating. This time last season, we were one of the first cars in the field as we let George go. We were one of the first cars in the field to switch on to intermediate tyres, and when we did so, we came alive a little bit. We were affected the most by overheating, and it looks like they might be following suit here. But this time we're running with a proper setup with low tyre pressures. But still, we are suffering. We follow through our teammates here as we go through the final corner. George Russell trying to put pressure on Antonio Giovinazzi. Nearly halfway into this race, and we are still outside of the points. You know, we are arguably the best car in the field. We've been the class of the field over the last 5 or 6 races, yet we find ourselves absolutely buried in P15 and P16 respectively. Like, what is going on in this British Grand Prix? I'm also running fresh engine components, so lack of straight line speed is not an excuse. This car is actually a bit of a rocket ship in a straight line once I chuck it up into overtake and rich fuel mixture. But in the corners, just kind of, there's nothing really going on there. So it's an odd one, I suppose. But let's hope that the intermediate conditions, once they do roll around, will be a bit of a role reversal for us and we can be back on the pace once again. It was such a weird Grand Prix as we lose the back end again, and now we're under pressure from Lando Norris. We have all the straight line speed in the world, so I don't imagine he'll be able to overtake us here. Not unless we overshoot the corner and make another mistake, which we don't, so we hold on to P16 for now. Pit window is now open. We're at the halfway stage of this Grand Prix, and you can now see the tyres are overheating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to box at the end of this lap. George has the same idea. So I'm going to stay out the extra lap. There's almost no point boxing behind your teammate. We can do the extra lap, and we'll probably only lose about the same amount of time. You can afford to do this when it's wet to inters, but if it was inters to dries, I definitely wouldn't be doing that. I'd be following in George. We can see a yellow flag up ahead. That is one of the Alfa Romeos. I believe that is Kevin Magnussen out of the Grand Prix. So let's hope that causes a safety car and we can all be bunched up towards each other once again. But he pulls off to the side. Unfortunately, no safety car for us, but we will be boxing right now to go on to intermediate tyres. And now I've got my fingers crossed, I've got my hands crossed, I've got my arms crossed, I've got bloody everything crossed. In the hopes that we are going to be on the pace now on this set of tyres. Pit stop time. 2.6 second stop, that's about average, I suppose. And we'll rejoin on the circuit proper once again, losing the back end, just as we were on the wet compound tyres. But this time, crucially, we are going purple to the third sector. So that does confirm that we have better pace in these conditions. So let's see if we can roll up onto the back of George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi. The gap was about 5.5 seconds as we left the pit lane. But you can see we're rolling in purple sector after purple sector. Not exactly purple laps, as that's dynamically changing. A lot of people swapping fastest laps at this stage. I don't even think we got a fastest lap at any point in this Grand Prix, but we've been getting lots of purple sectors inconsistently on different laps, but I just haven't completely strung it all together. This time around, 2 purples, 1 green, but still not a fastest lap. But we are pretty fast, and we are closing in, finally, to George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi. There is 4 laps to go. 4 laps to go in this British Grand Prix. Where is the time gone? Like, we've just been stuck behind this guy this whole Grand Prix. Giovinazzi has got a mighty fast Alfa Romeo. But again, like us, he's kind of got nothing in the corner, so he's just really been stuck in this Grand Prix. I've got close to George this time, and now I might go for a dive up the inside. And this one might be definitive for keeps in this British Grand Prix. Let's see if we can set after Giovinazzi. Where is this dry conditions going to strike? It was meant to be happening at the end of the Grand Prix, but it looks like it's not even going to show up. We're going to finish on the intermediate tyres at this rate. But I'm hoping for some kind of safety car or something. We need to get in the points. Look at the Mercedes and the Ferraris. They're going across the finish line now. They're like 40 seconds in the lead. I'm just so confused. So confused as to how we've lost this much time, how we've been stuck for so long. Our pace has been terrible. Well, I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, on the wets, I didn't really have any pace, but George has been here with me, and he's been stuck the whole way. He couldn't get in front of Giovinazzi. Doesn't help that we don't have any DRS to help get past someone who has straight line speed of an Alfa Romeo. We finally dive up the inside of Giovinazzi, but it's too little too late. There's 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. There's not going to be a safety car, and the only thing that can bail us out now is maybe a late switch to dry compound tyres. But there we go, very forceful move, diving up the inside. Basically had to leave the corner to us in order to not crash. But we get through, but what do we do now? Like, I think the track is now drying. I think this is our first little go in some clear air. So we'll see what we can string together in terms of a lap. It looks like, oh, it's purple. So we do have the pace in clear air, maybe. So maybe it's just a combination of Giovinazzi having such a good car in a straight line. We couldn't overtake him in a straight line. No DRS, so we couldn't really overtake him as well in that manner. But then the dirty air was kind of keeping us, and myself and George, at arm's length. So I think we kind of just got unlucky, just stuck behind the worst car in the field, the hardest car to overtake essentially in the field, which meant that we got stuck in a way. But it's a shame as well. The DRS has now been disabled. No one is making a pit stop on this lap. I was going purple to the first sector, but as soon as the DRS got disabled, the tyres started to overheat again. And so we were never able to really showcase our speed in this Grand Prix. Couldn't get that fast up in the end. And now that the tyres are overheating, it's affecting me more than those around me, I would say, in my opinion. Because temperatures are so much more sensitive for the player than what they are for the AI. They can drive around a whole lot more smoothly, and now you can see I'm massively under pressure from my teammate once again. So it's been a frustrating one. I feel like all Grand Prix, we've kind of just been at the mercy of the conditions, and we haven't really had a fair shot at this Grand Prix, and it looks like we're going to come away with absolutely nothing in this race. Charles Leclerc wins the Grand Prix. Bottas P2, championship rival. Heading into this race, I think we were like 4 points behind him in the standings, but now we're going to be miles away. Maybe even beyond a race victory, potentially. I don't know, it'll be close. But, yeah, what a sour Grand Prix. We're now getting attacked again by Giovinazzi. What a weird Grand Prix. There goes George Russell as we go through into the final sector of this lap, of the entire Grand Prix. We go for a big dive bomb, and we get George back. It's squabbling over minor positions through the final corner. We've actually lost the back end, and we are going to crash across the line. I don't even know where we finished, but it doesn't matter. It's P13. Either way, we are out of the points. But I think with that, we just finished out of our teammate George Russell and Giovinazzi. But, oh, what a Grand Prix.
Here we are then, a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
Unlike Marduk Motorsport, who can't overtake after the first lap, it seems. We made such good end roads on that first lap, didn't we? I felt like I was full of confidence, like Max Verstappen or something, carving my way through the field. Then lap 2 happened, and we went nowhere, essentially, for the rest of the Grand Prix. Both myself and George, unable to get in front of Giovinazzi for the best part of 20 laps. And by the time we could do anything about it, the race was over. And the top 10 runners were just too far in front to really do anything about it. So, unfortunate to see a Grand Prix go that way, just being stuck, essentially. I don't think this has happened since the Spanish Grand Prix, but, you know, Spain is a track where there's so much high speed, and it was a dry race, and I don't know, conventionally that just happens at that racetrack, but not here, not Silverstone, not in the rain at least. That was just so frustrating. I don't really know what I could have done different. You know, driving-wise, I think I would have ran a different setup if I could have. Maybe would have ran maybe 2 clicks higher on downforce, front and rear, in order to make the car a little bit more planted through the higher speed stuff. But really, to be honest, I was only struggling in the wet at the start of the race. In the inters, it was fine, but still, it was quite hard to still make that progress through the field. Who's to say extra downforce would have helped overall, because we would have been slower in a straight line, and we were struggling anyway to overtake Giovinazzi in a straight line, even with the low downforce and amazing engine and drag capabilities we've got in this car. It was still a massive challenge. But there we go, guys. Sorry about the wait for this episode, and sorry about the way things turned out, but sometimes this is just how things turn out sometimes. But hopefully in the next one, we'll have a much more exciting Grand Prix, a lot more fruitful one for us. And we'll hopefully get back on the podium or get back to winning ways. We need to make some inroads in both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championships, both of which have taken a massive blow. And it's a wake-up call. We need to pull our fingers out on the track, off the track, get the upgrades going again, and regroup. Let's see how good we can bounce back after a tough weekend. It'll be that much more satisfying if we can come away with another 1-2 or a victory at the very least in the next Grand Prix. That would be the perfect way to fight back and make a mark in this championship. But anyway, that's it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. Until the next one, I'll see you next time.